Freeloaders aren't welcome here, my brother announced, changing the locks while I was at work. His wife added, "Go find your own place." They had no idea I was the silent partner who owned 51% of their dream business. Until I withdrew my investment. I stood there in the rain, staring at my belongings scattered on the lawn like garbage. My laptop bag was soaked, my clothes were in trash bags, and my brother Kevin was watching from the window with his arms crossed, looking satisfied. His wife Brianna stood beside him, smirking as she sipped wine from a glass that I'd bought when I moved in 6 months ago. "Mia, just leave," Kevin shouted through the door. "We're done enabling your laziness. Get a real job and stop mooching off successful people." Successful people. I almost laughed, but the rain was too cold, and I was too tired from my 12-hour shift at the hospital. Instead, I gathered my things, called an Uber, and left without a word. They'd learned soon enough what they'd just done. My name is Mia Thompson, and I'm a pediatric nurse. Not exactly a glamorous job, but it pays well enough. Well enough that when my brother came to me 3 years ago with his revolutionary business idea, I had the capital to invest. He wanted to create a luxury meal prep service for busy professionals, organic, chef-designed meals delivered daily. It was actually a good concept, and Kevin had the culinary background to pull it off. "I just need $200,000 to get started," he begged over coffee. "I've got this investor interested, but he wants to see that I have skin in the game too. Please, Mia. You know I'm good for it." I'd just received a settlement from a medical malpractice case where I'd been a whistleblower. The hospital had been overcharging patients, and I'd reported it. The lawsuit took 2 years, but I walked away with $500,000 after taxes. Kevin didn't know the exact amount. I'd learned long ago to keep my finances private, but he knew I had money saved. "Fine," I'd agreed. "But I want proper documentation. Real equity, not just a handshake deal." Kevin had readily agreed, probably thinking I'd be a silent partner who'd never actually exercise any control. We structured it through an LLC, with me owning 51% and Kevin owning 30%. The other investor, Mr. Yamamoto, took 19%. My name was kept off all public documents at my request. I didn't want my colleagues knowing about my side investment, and honestly, I preferred Kevin to be the face of the business. Elite Eats launched successfully. Kevin was a natural at the operations side, and his food really was excellent. The business grew quickly, especially after we landed a contract with several tech companies to provide meals for their employees. Within 2 years, we were turning a serious profit. That's when Kevin started changing. Success went to his head like cheap wine. He leased a BMW he couldn't quite afford, started wearing designer clothes, and began acting like he was the next Gordon Ramsay. He married Brianna, a social media influencer who specialized in posting photos of herself eating at expensive restaurants. Together, they built this image of being a power couple in the food industry. Meanwhile, I kept working my nursing shifts. 12 hours on my feet, dealing with sick children and worried parents. It wasn't glamorous, but it was meaningful. The investment income was nice, but I never touched it. Everything got reinvested into growing Elite Eats. 6 months ago, Kevin and Brianna bought a house. A massive McMansion in the suburbs that they definitely couldn't afford on their own. They threw a housewarming party that I couldn't attend because I was working a double shift in the PICU. "Must be nice to have a job where you just work," Brianna had said the next day when I stopped by with a housewarming gift. Kevin and I are building an empire. We barely have time to sleep. A week later, Kevin called. "Hey, so we have a few spare bedrooms, and I know your apartment lease is up. Want to move in for a while? Just until you find something else." I should have seen the trap, but he was my brother. My apartment building was being converted to condos, and finding a new place while working crazy hours seemed daunting. Plus, he made it sound like he was doing me a favor. "I'll pay rent, of course," I offered. "Don't be ridiculous," Kevin had said. "Family doesn't charge family. Just help out with groceries and utilities." So I moved in. Big mistake. From day one, Brianna treated me like the help. She'd leave dishes for me, complain if I didn't contribute by cleaning the house, and make snide comments about my appearance when I came home exhausted from work. "You always look so tired," she'd say. "Maybe if you had a job that actually inspired you, like Kevin does, you'd have more energy." Kevin was no better. He'd grown embarrassed by my profession, introducing me at parties as his sister who works in healthcare, without mentioning I was a nurse. When his business friends came over, he'd ask me to stay in my room. It's just that they're talking about investments and markets and stuff, he explained. You'd be bored. If only he knew. The breaking point came last month. Elite Eats had attracted the attention of a major food conglomerate. They wanted to buy the company for $2.8 million. Kevin was ecstatic, already planning how to spend his windfall. We're going to travel the world, Brianna gushed at dinner. First class everything. You should save up, Mia. Maybe in a few years, you could take a nice vacation too. I know nursing doesn't pay much, but if you're careful. I bit my tongue. As majority owner, I'd be getting $1.4 million from the sale. But they didn't need to know that yet. The problem started when Kevin began negotiating without me. He was making promises about transition periods, recipe rights, and non-compete clauses that I hadn't approved. When I tried to bring it up privately, he brushed me off. Don't worry about the business stuff, he said condescendingly. I know it's complicated. Just focus on your nursing thing. That's when I stopped helping around the house. If they wanted to treat me like a freeloader, while I was the one who'd made their success possible, fine. I'd act like one. I stopped cleaning up after them, stopped buying groceries, stopped pretending everything was okay. Brianna lost it. You contribute nothing, she screamed one night. We give you a free place to live, and you can't even load a dishwasher? I work 60 hours a week saving lives, I shot back. Sorry if I don't have time to clean up after your dinner parties. Saving lives, Kevin scoffed. You take temperatures and hand out pills. Stop acting like you're some hero. You're a nurse, not a doctor. If you were really ambitious, you'd have done something with your life like I have. That was a week before they locked me out. They'd been planning it, I realized later. Waiting for a day when I'd be at work so they could pack my things and change the locks without a confrontation. Standing in that rain, I made a decision. They wanted me gone. Fine. But I was taking my investment with me. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I want to exercise my exit clause, I said. Full withdrawal of investment plus the 40% penalty for early withdrawal as specified in the contract. He calculated quickly. That's $280,000 they'd have to pay you immediately. It could bankrupt them. Then they better hope that acquisition goes through fast. Here's what Kevin didn't realize. The acquisition was contingent on maintaining current operations and ownership structure for 6 months. Any major changes, like a majority owner withdrawing, would void the deal. Also, without my capital investment propping up their expansion plans, they couldn't fulfill the orders they'd just signed with 3 new corporate clients. I sent the formal withdrawal notice that afternoon. Kevin called within an hour. What the hell is this? He screamed. Some kind of joke? No joke. I want my money. You have 30 days as per our agreement. Mia, you can't. I mean, how are you even? You're listed as a silent investor. Silent doesn't mean powerless. Read your contracts, Kevin. The ones you were too important to let me worry about. The panic in his voice was delicious. But the acquisition is your problem. You should have thought about that before kicking out your majority investor. Majority? I heard Brianna shriek in the background. What do you mean, majority? The next few days were chaos. Kevin tried everything, threatening, begging, even sending our parents to guilt trip me. He's your brother, Mom pleaded. You can't destroy his dreams like this. I gave him his dream, I corrected. I funded it, I supported it, and I kept it quiet so he could take all the credit. All I asked in return was basic respect. He couldn't even manage that. The acquisition fell through within a week. Without my investment, Elite Eats couldn't maintain its operations. They missed 2 major deliveries, lost their biggest clients, and suddenly Kevin's house of cards came tumbling down. The other investor, Mr. Yamamoto, pulled out too, citing breach of contract. Kevin had to sell the BMW. Then the house. Brianna left him when she realized the lifestyle she'd married into was funded by the sister she'd spent months insulting. She made a tearful Instagram post about being deceived and starting over, carefully omitting her role in everything. Elite Eats went into bankruptcy. Kevin's reputation in the industry was destroyed when word got out that he'd tanked a $1 million deal by alienating his primary investor. No one wanted to work with someone who couldn't even manage basic business relationships. I used my withdrawn investment to start a nonprofit that provides healthy meals to families with children in long-term hospital care. It's not as profitable as Elite Eats, but when a parent is spending 16 hours a day at their child's bedside, having access to nutritious food means everything. We're small but growing, and every nurse in our network knows exactly who owns it. Kevin works at a restaurant now, not as head chef, but as a line cook. He reapplied to Elite Eats after it was bought for pennies by a competitor, but they wouldn't hire him. Turns out, the new owners had done their homework and knew exactly why the company had failed. He reached out last week, asking if we could talk. I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop, the same one where he'd first pitched Elite Eats to me. "I'm sorry," he said, looking older and tired. "I was an ass. A complete, total ass." "Yes, you were. I got caught up in it all. The success, the image. Brianna kept saying we needed to project success, and somehow that meant putting you down. Making you seem less than. It was stupid. It was more than stupid. It was cruel." He nodded, staring at his coffee. "I know. I see that now. I had this image of you as my little sister who needed help, who couldn't take care of herself. Meanwhile, you were the one taking care of me the whole time. I never wanted credit," I said. "I just wanted to not be treated like garbage in my own brother's home." "I know. God, I know. Is there any chance?" "No." I cut him off. "I'm not investing in any more of your ventures, Kevin. And before you ask, I'm also not hiring you at the nonprofit. You burned that bridge spectacularly." He deflated. "I figured. I miss you. You're my sister. I'm the sister you locked out of your house for being a freeloader. The sister whose career you mocked. The sister you were too embarrassed to introduce properly to your fancy friends." "I know," he whispered. "I know what I lost. And it wasn't just the money or the business. It was you." I finished my coffee and stood up. "You're right. You lost me. And unlike your business, that's not something you can rebuild with a new investment." As I walked away, I felt lighter than I had in months. The rain from that night he locked me out had washed away more than just my old life. It had cleaned away the illusion that family meant accepting disrespect. My nonprofit is thriving. We just partnered with 3 major hospitals, and I still work nursing shifts twice a week to stay connected to the families we serve. My apartment is small but mine, decorated with thank you cards from parents and drawings from kids who finally got to go home. Kevin and I exchange Christmas cards now. Polite, distant, appropriate for siblings who share blood, but no longer share trust. He seems to be rebuilding his life slowly, humbling himself in ways he never could before. Maybe someday we'll find our way back to being family. But it will never be the same. The funny thing about being called a freeloader is that it assumes you have nothing to contribute. Kevin and Brianna looked at my scrubs and modest car and assumed I was less than them. They never bothered to ask about my investments, my savings, my plans. They saw a tired nurse and dismissed her as unsuccessful. They forgot that the quiet ones often hold the most power. They forgot that the person cleaning up after your party might be the one paying for it. They forgot that respect isn't about what someone does for a living, but how they treat others. Most importantly, they forgot that when you kick someone out, you better make sure you don't need them first. The locks they changed that rainy night didn't just keep me out. They locked themselves into a future without the one person who'd believed in them enough to risk everything. And while they can always get new locks, they can't get back what they lost when they threw away the key to our relationship. My investment in Elite Eats was $200,000. The cost of their disrespect? Everything they'd built. Turns out, I wasn't the freeloader after all. I was the foundation. And when you tear out your foundation, the whole house comes crashing down. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.